Welcome to everyone to this interview. I would like to introduce Ms. Maureen Stickle from the World Poultry Foundation. She has a bachelor's degree in international economics from Georgetown University and a master's degree in agricultural and applied economics from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Currently, Maureen is the Director of International Program Development for the World Poultry Foundation. She leads the training, strategy and execution, monitoring and data system development, as well as oversees the foundation's strategic communications. Maureen, welcome, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me today. Pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. And today we will talk about the World Poultry Foundation to make people know a little bit more about this organization and how they work to help poultry producers worldwide. So Maureen, my first question is, what is the World Poultry Foundation?
Sure. So the World Poultry Foundation is a US-based nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we work to improve lives globally through empowering farmers in rural areas through engagement with poultry value chains. We focus very much on women and youth, as well as household nutrition. We place heavy emphasis on training in all of our work.
Then Maureen, please tell us about the history of the foundation and the people that support this initiative.
So our original funding actually came from both a combination of the USDA as well as money from several of the major poultry companies in the United States. And the goal was to promote economic development in emerging markets outside the United States with regards to poultry. So some of our first initiatives focused on training poultry farmers, particularly layers, in Russia, actually, as a measure of political goodwill soon after the fall of the USSR. That was a long time ago, though, so we've reshifted and rebranded, refocused our energy, and now we really work globally. And all of our, most of our current work is in Africa, where the need is greatest. We're a small team. We're focused on improving lives through poultry, and our programs have since expanded as well. We have many different training initiatives, sort of still in line with our original mission. But then we also do a lot of work to partner with private sector partners to develop value chains in rural areas, really targeting those rural households. I think one of the underlying pieces of our organization is we really work to promote sustainability, not just in terms of environmental sustainability, but also in terms of longevity of projects. I think, within the development world, there's a lot of projects that sort of die or dwindle, the fire burns out after the funding runs out. So we're really working to invest in value chains that grow beyond the life of any investment that we might make.
Now, Maureen, we would like to know what are the vision and mission of the organization?
Sure. So our mission is to be a catalyst for improving lives globally through the sustainable production of poultry by empowering farmers in developing regions. I think the goal is that we want all farmers to have access to high quality inputs, as well as the know-how to maximize their potential, increasing the performance of their flocks, improving household incomes, and improving their household nutrition. We really believe that poultry has the potential to sustainably improve lives and have really oriented all of our programs toward that end.
And what are the global initiatives you are working on?
So we have several different programs that we're working on. We still have the various training programs. So there's a training center in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, that we support that offers several different poultry short courses. We hold different trainings at different points in time with farming cooperatives. Just a few years ago, we had a training initiative with farmers cooperatives in Ghana, focused on financial literacy and farm management. We're always developing new training materials. For example, we have currently some new picture, more visual training materials in development, really geared to the smallest scale farmer in rural areas to teach very basic poultry rearing concepts. We also have an app in development, sort of a relaunch of a previous app we ran, teaching farmers how to self-mix their own feed. I think what has become maybe our flagship program, though, is the APMI, the Africa Poultry Multiplication Initiative. That is the program that's largest. It's through that program we've reached the most households, over 2.3 million households since 2017. And it's through that program we partner with a private sector poultry company in a country where we're working. Currently, we're in Nigeria, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe, though we have growth planned in the new year into a few new countries in West Africa. And through that investment, we're working with the company to develop a dual-purpose poultry value chain. So a dual-purpose poultry, for those who aren't familiar, it's a bird that's not a layer, not a broiler, but sits somewhere in the middle, and it's much more productive than a village bird. So where a village bird might just lay 40 to 60 eggs in a year, a dual-purpose breed would lay in the range of 150 eggs in a year. Also, a village bird might take several months to reach market weight, whereas a dual-purpose bird could take just 14 weeks. So they have a lot of potential to really improve the productivity of poultry for rural households. And so we work with the private sector partner to develop that value chain, to get birds distributed out into rural areas in a for-profit model.
And do you have any research projects with the communities? And if so, are those projects linked to the universities?
Sure. So as a part of that program I was just mentioning, we have ongoing impact evaluations. They're not linked with the university, but they were funded by the donors that we work with. And those are really aimed at learning and improving the program. So gauging the work that we're doing in each country, are we having the impact that we intend to with rural households where we work? I think any of the data that's collected through those is really oriented towards that learning and program improvement lens, more so than pure research. We do partner with the University of Georgia Poultry Science Department. That really isn't a research project per se, but they're helping us develop the back end for that poultry self-mix feed application. We're calling it the feed mixer. That I described. So they're providing all of the input and sort of research behind the appropriate nutrient mix and appropriate feed composition for various breeds of birds in different ages. So I think it's more in that regard we've been partnering with universities recently.
And how many people and from which country have been benefited from your programs?
So we estimate that we've reached over 2.3 million farmers through the APMI program I had mentioned, the Africa Poultry Multiplication Initiative. That's, that probably within that 2.3 million also included would be other farmers we've trained and other households we've reached with our training programs and materials. And that's spread across 10 different countries, mostly in Africa currently, though we have had work outside of Africa, particularly in Vietnam as well as Cuba. I think the numbers can be a bit tricky in some regard because of the nature of the work with private sector partners and how many of our investments outlive our investment. For example, our internship programs we fund in South Africa and now in Zimbabwe, we help set up a revolving fund where our initial funding might just fund 2 or 3 people, maybe 5 people, but then as money is paid back and the program continues, it numbers keep adding. So I think something that we're quite proud of is that, those are the estimates of those we know we've touched, but we are excited by our investments continuing to grow even after we're less involved.
And what is the plan for the foundation for 2023?
We actually have really big plans for 2023. It's an exciting year for growth. The Feed Mix app I mentioned will be launching probably later this quarter. We've also, the visual training resources I mentioned also probably in the second quarter this year will become available. We'll start disseminating and promoting those with farmers across various countries. And then we're also planning to expand our APMI program in 2 to 3 countries in West Africa. So a new area for us, sort of new frontiers as we're looking for new partners and really hoping to multiply the impact we're having on households.
Finally, Maureen, is there anything special you would like our audience to know about the World Poultry Foundation?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece that hasn't quite fit into a question so far is perhaps our how we're always working to really learn and innovate. I think it's something that really makes us unique. We developed an in-house data platform that we use to track our programs in the field. It's actually something we've just revamped and relaunched a new version of. We're automating dashboards then to help with the feedback loops for learning with our partners on sort of bringing real-time data from birds in the field back to headquarters so we can identify problems early, make sure we're reaching the farmers that we hope to in our work, and seeing the outcomes that the programs are really oriented towards. You know, birds are healthy, they're not dying, they're growing correctly, farmers are earning a profit, women are involved in the programs, households are improving their nutrition. So I think that that's, you know, just a really exciting piece that we're continuing to find new applications for and new use cases, and sort of an exciting area, particularly for me in my background in ag econ. So yes, I think that would be it.
Well, thank you, Maureen, for your time.
Thank you so much as well. It was a pleasure to meet you, Maria.
And thank you to all people that are watching this interview.